My name is Pierre Frigon, and today we're going to talk about how we can enable DevOps with Lab as a Service. This video is brought to you by Rahi Systems, a global solutions provider for data centers, cloud, and networking, as well as Spirent Communications, a global leader in communication testing, measurement, and automation. So first, let's have a look at why DevOps. DevOps was created primarily to help accelerate the pace of software development to help organizations improve their time to market. For those organizations that have implemented DevOps practices, they realized that this helped them maximize their quality and minimize their risk. And last but not least, organizations have realized that there is a significant cost savings and a high return on their investments, which is really creating a huge business impact. So let's take a look at what DevOps looks like today. So let's take a look at Amazon Web Services. Almost 10 years ago, Amazon was boasting that they were updating their services about every 11.6 seconds. Obviously, they didn't get there overnight. Amazon had to commit to a long and arduous journey to achieve this capability. The reasons why they did this are clear if you look at their dominance in the market today. So their DevOps operation was certainly an underpinning of that success. Now, many companies have seen these results and have started looking at moving towards DevOps. And that is driving a lot of automation to support digital transformation initiatives. And this acceleration of automation really creates an interesting side effect. As noted in the 2018 DevOps report, we're now at a point where we are creating more applications than we can deliver. So this suggests that there is some sort of bottleneck responsible for this. Now let's take a look at how labs come into play when we're talking about DevOps. So when we're looking at a DevOps pipeline, what we're trying to do is enable continuous flow of software being delivered. So our goal here is to help keep this delivery of software going smoothly and continuously. However, when we introduce labs in this continuous flow for testing applications, we end up introducing some manual processes. It's very common to find many manual processes in most labs today. Now, what happens when we introduce these manual processes in a DevOps pipeline? Well, that pipeline just grinds to a halt. So we need a way to remove those manual processes in the DevOps pipeline and automate them to enable the continuous flow of software delivery. And the solution to this is what we call cloudification of the lab. So this is about virtualizing the entire lab into a cloud environment along with all the related lab services. So the lab becomes accessible to anyone, anywhere around the world at any time via their internet browser. It also enables users to draw their topologies, build and deploy their test beds using physical resources, virtual resources in a private or public cloud, or a hybrid of physical and cloud resources. The cloudification of the lab requires a high degree of automation to support all the required services to create a powerful abstraction to simplify the deployment of all these services. This level of automation promotes fast and frequent creation of teardown of test environments, which is essential for a successful DevOps pipeline. So let's take a look at an example of what that looks like in practice. So we're going to take a partial view of the DevOps pipeline, starting with the introduction of a code change. Now, as we go through each step, we'll show some of the tools that are associated with each of those steps to put some context around what's going on here. So once our code change is in, that's really what kicks off the whole chain. So our next step is going to be to create a build so we have something to test against. And once our build is available, we're going to go ahead and launch the first level of test, which is typically unit testing. So that's going to allow us to test the code in isolation, make sure it's ready for integration. And this is the point where things get really interesting. When we start looking at larger system test, integration level test, these typically require larger environments. And this is usually where the DevOps pipeline breaks down because of all those manual steps that we were referring to earlier. Now, by introducing the virtual lab it's not going to be possible to create those larger environments in an automated fashion. And Velocity is a tool that's going to help us support that. So once we have our test bed that's been built in an automated way, we're now ready to proceed with our integration or system level test and validate the change in a larger setting, in a larger configuration. Once those are completed, now we can go ahead and release the resources that were allocated to build a test bed for these tests, make those available to other users. And then once the tests have successfully completed, we can move on to the last step, which is to deploy the change in the environment that's intended. So as you can see here, we have enabled the DevOps pipeline with Lab as a Service to achieve continuous delivery of software. We can repeat this chain over and over again for every change that is coming in. So thank you for listening today. If you would like to have more information, please follow the links that are shown here below.